FC Sufferlona strikes once again as FC Barcelona grabbed a 1-0 win away at San Mamés Stadium at home of Athletic Bilbao. Once again, we saw Tiki, Taka, Cholo, Xavi Hernandez coming to the fore with his typical defensive setup towards the end of the match to get Barcelona across the line. And there were honestly some pretty heroic performances in that back line for FC Barcelona. And as for the forward line, well, I do have my fair bit of questions for them. Anywho, welcome to Blaugrana Everything and welcome back to the channel or to the podcast depending on where you're listening from. This is going to be a match review of FC Barcelona's 1-0 win at San Mamés Stadium, which took them back to 9 points clear at the top of the Liga going into El Clasico this coming weekend. Man, what a game that is going to be. So, if this is your first time here, what I usually do with match previews is I will give you the tactical setup of the team, then we're going to go into my negatives and positives from the game, basically just the things I liked and didn't like from the game, and I will go on to give my team rating, manager rating, as well as pick a man of the match. So, if this is your first time here and you enjoy what you are seeing, please do feel free to hit that like button and also hit subscribe so you can be part of this community. You can also subscribe to the podcast, which is available on just about anything that Spotify distributes to. So I do hope that you are able to join the community and to follow everything as it's going on here. Okay, let's go ahead now and talk tactical setup. Now, FC Barcelona came into this game without the suspended Ronald Araujo, who did have a one-match suspension following his red card against Valencia last Sunday. And as a result, Xavi Hernandez had to shuffle that back for a little bit, though he went with some changes that I wasn't exactly expecting. You were thinking that all you would do here is swap out Araujo for Marcos Alonso to have a like-for-like, more or less, center-back setup that he usually goes with, with Alonso and Christensen at the back, with Koundé staying at right back. But Xavi actually decided to go with Koundé moving to center-back and Sergio Roberto coming in at right back. The midfield then changed. It wasn't a midfield four that we've been seeing, there was no box midfield in this game from Xavi. It was back to the 4-3-3. I think he did this probably just to nullify Athletic Bilbao's wing backs a little bit and to force their wingers to do a bit more tracking back. So in midfield, we saw Gavi, Frenkie de Jong and Busquets with Ferran Torres, Robert Lewandowski and Raphinha starting up front. Well, let's go ahead now and talk negatives and positives. And as per usual, I will start with my negatives. And the first negative, once again, wasting chances. Once again, the finishing today just wasn't there. Robert Lewandowski, for example, had two very good opportunities, which a striker of his caliber should at least be scoring from, if not working the goalkeeper. The first one in the first half, when it was put through by Frenkie de Jong with the game still goalless, it was more or less a carbon copy of the chance that he missed not too long ago against Villarreal at the La Ceramica Stadium. And this time around, just like he did then, he was not able to capitalize. Kicked the ball into the goalkeeper after taking what was really a heavy touch from him, which you do not expect to see from a striker of his caliber who was clean through on goal like that. But then later on as well, in the second half, Alejandro Balde did create a wonderful goal-scoring opportunity for Lewandowski, which, once again, Lewandowski wasn't able to put on target, putting his header just wide. Raphinha, on the other hand, did manage to get a goal, so I don't have much to complain about with him. And as far as the goal-scoring goes, we'll talk about him, though, in the next negative, which I have, which just so happened to be a little bit of timidity from our wingers in this game. Now, the wing-backs that Bilbao set up with in this game had a combined age of just about 70 years old. That's how old these guys were. And they were up against two forwards, both of whom are under the age of 26. So Raphinha and Ferran in this one should have been having the better of Balenciaga and Oscar de Marcos, both of whom, like I said, are advanced in their ages and both of whom are pretty slow over the first 5 yards. So you expected to see a lot more of Ferran Torres and Raphinha completing take-ons against them. Instead, at the end of the game, we saw a grand total of just 2 take-ons that were completed by Ferran and Raphinha, and they were both not completed against Oscar De Marcos, and Balenciaga. So you just can't help but think this was a huge wasted opportunity for FC Barcelona in that regard, because there were quite a few opportunities I felt Raphinha could have taken on as wing back, and he didn't. Though, credit to him, his goal did come from him getting free of his wing back, and it was in fact his wing back who played him onside. So, credit where it's due, will give you that there, Raphinha. And with that done, I'll go on and talk about my positives, because there were positives from this game. Anytime that this defense keeps a clean sheet, there is usually a lot of positives to distribute along that back line. And the same was the case here once again. For all my criticism of, Sergio Roberto starting defensively, he only had, I think, about 2 or so moments where Nico Williams had the beating of him, which once again you expect, because he's not somebody who's going to keep up with Nico Williams. But yeah, he didn't do too badly. The rest of the defense, though, I thought was pretty solid. Koundé looked shaky at times, but by the end of the game, he was really tuned in and he was making blocks and goal line clearances and all this sorts of stuff. Same once again for Christensen, who seems to just love defending like this. I can see why him and Araujo get along so well in that back line. They just both love being that last line of defense and putting in a foot where it should be. And can I just say something here about Christensen? Just how much of an upgrade this man has been over the man who was playing in his position previously, Clement Longley. In fact, the man who was wearing his jersey number previously. I think the gulf in class between Christensen and Clement Longley was best illustrated by a passage of play that we saw towards the end of the first half, where Bilbao were putting Barcelona under pressure and they just about almost put a shot on target, if not for a last-minute block by Koundé. And after that block, the ball fell to Christensen, who was able to take a touch, but just as he was about to boot the ball clear, a Bilbao midfielder got to the ball before him, nicked it away from him, then, went ahead and dove because he thought Christensen was going to kick him and he would get a penalty. Of course, Christensen didn't kick him, he pulled out. Now, by comparison, I remember countless penalties, okay, not countless, but quite a few penalties that Clement Longley gave away. In fact, Harry Garcia as well, by just failing to do exactly what Christensen did there, being aware of the player coming and knowing he'll beat you to the ball and then just pulling out of kicking it. So many times, Longley, or Garcia in this case, would have kicked that Bilbao player, and just seeing Christensen do that, honestly speaking, it brought tears to my eyes, because it was a wonderful moment. But enough of the negatives and positives. Let's go ahead now and talk match ratings, right? Let's give our team rating and let's give Xavi his rating as well. I'm going to be a bit kinder with Xavi probably than I would with the team, because once again, I thought for a match against Ernesto Valverde, Xavi Hernandez set his team up perfectly, just like we saw him do at Camp Nou when he set his team up in just the right way, that they were up 3-0 in like the first 20 minutes or something of that encounter. This time around, he did once again set his team up just right, even though I didn't think Sergio Roberto should have started this one, but the setup, I think, was correct here from Xavi Hernandez, and the adjustments that he made in the second half as well, after a few changes by Ernesto Valverde with bringing on Muniain. Xavi Hernandez, bringing on the 4 midfielders, and then later on again shifted back to that 4-3-3. He made the right changes at the right moments, and because of that, I think that this was an 8.5 out of 10 for Xavi. I don't like doing 0.5s much, but didn't really feel like a 9, but it's definitely better than an 8. So it's an 8.5. Moving on to the team rating though, and unfortunately for Marc Andre Ter Stegen and that beautiful backline, I thought that the rest of the team did kind of let them down a bit. Our midfielders struggled to control the game in some portions here where you felt like we really should have just been putting our foot down on the ball and keeping it and suffocating the life out of the game. In fact, that disallowed goal by Iñaki came from a moment where our midfielders just decided to be juggling the ball around rather than just, putting it on the ground, keeping it and playing conservative passes. And, we could talk about how high that back line was, but, that's a result of your midfield not keeping the ball. And because of that, and because of our forwards who continue relying on this defense to bail the team out, honestly, I miss the days when our forwards would bail the team out, every now and then. Of course, that forward is usually Messi, but I just miss having forwards who could decide the game more than defenders would. But either way, it's not a bad position to be in when you're 9 points clear. So what was I talking about? Team rating, right? Okay, after that really roundabout way, I'm going to give my team rating for this one. And I thought that for the team, this was a 7 out of 10 performance. Yeah, Xavi Hernandez set them up correctly, and they could have won this game by more if they took their chances, but they also defended pretty well. So 7 out of 10. And from there, we move on finally to giving the man of the match. And without a doubt, this time around, man of the match has to go to the man, the myth, and the legend himself, Spider-Man disguised in a German suit. Oh, I don't know. That sounded better in my head. Marc Andre Ter Stegen is my man of the match. Of course, you can give a good shout here as well to Christensen and to Kunde, maybe, or Busquets. But yeah, I'm going with Marc Andre Ter Stegen as my man of the match. Anywho, that is basically that from me, ladies and gentlemen. Do let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Who was your man of the match? Who do you think was the best performer on the day? All that kind of stuff. I thank you once again for tuning in. Have a great day, and Forza Barca.